Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, as we start this new year, we're going to pick up a couple of the big issues that we have followed for the last couple of years, and one of them, of course, is transportation funding. It's been identified by voters in poll after poll as one of the critical issues that Pennsylvanians recognize, and they certainly recognize the need to do the repairs on the bridges and upgrade the roads, and that we're not talking about new construction here. We're talking about just maintaining the system that we have. Well, our go-to guy on this is Bob Latham. He's sitting across from me. He's the Executive VP with the Associated Pennsylvania Constructors. Bob, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, good morning, Terry.
All right, here we are. We're back in another year, and we're going to figure out where all this stands. Before we get into some aspects of it that I want to ask you about,
Sure.
Present the problem in a summary, if you can, about why this need is so pressing.
Well, we just haven't been investing in infrastructure in the last 10 to 20 years as a nation and as a state. It's been since 1997 since we've increased funding of any significant amount. In 2005, a blue ribbon panel identified a need of about $1.7 billion. In 2010, it was up to 3.5. And the bottom line is, if we keep kicking this can down the road, the problem only gets worse. And we have a large number of highways, structurally bad bridges, I guess, in Pennsylvania. That's not mean they're going to fall down. They just need to be repaired. Our geography and our population warrants that we need to do things in transportation infrastructure, not just roads, but ports, airports, mass transit as well.
Well, what has the problem been in trying to get the funding? Is it that you have to raise taxes or fees, and some of that is not popular, even though the people want roads and bridges repaired? Is figuring out a way, the funding of it, I mean, that's the serious problem, isn't it?
Well, right. And in research that we've done, we found that people are willing to pay for better roads. The other thing that people need to realize is that it's costing you not, when we don't get to solutions, when we don't raise revenues or gradually increase, say, the gas tax or registration fees, when we keep just delaying that, yeah, it costs you.
Yeah.
So people out there, you're paying for bad roads. So you can either pay for good roads or you can pay for bad ones. And I would say, in the Harrisburg area, ask the people coming from northern York County whether they enjoy sitting on 83 North day after day after day after day. And you can find those areas almost everywhere in the Commonwealth.
If I ask you to name me the two big ways that you think the roads and bridges should be paid for, what would you tell me?
Well, one of the things that's been different about transportation over the years is that it's basically a user fee. So if you use the roads, you pay. If you have a fleet of trucks that's on the roads and using the roads, you pay. So our tax structure for highways has always been the gasoline
right.
tax, and we haven't addressed that again in 14, 15 years. What other commodity, I guess, if you will, what other utility, for example, has not increased their rates? Have your electric rates been the same for the last 14 years? I know I just got a letter from Pennsylvania American Water, said your water rates are going up. Well, I've got two choices: don't drink or pay it. I mean,
yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. And people look, and in some cases, the problem is that you have to take these things through the General Assembly and through the political process. Yep. And I guess elected officials have been reluctant to step up.
All right, I want to run to a break.
Sure.
And when we come back, I want to ask you if you see any breakthrough in terms of bipartisanship, whether this is a Republican or Democratic issue, sure, and how that might work out. All right, we'll be back in a moment. Hi, welcome back. Well, we're bringing you up to date on one of the critical issues that certainly the voters have told us is critical to them, and that is fixing Pennsylvania's roads and bridges. Doing this update is Bob Latham. He's with the Associated Pennsylvania Constructors. All right, Bob, do you see any partisan differences here? I mean, it seems to me now that you do have supporters for getting the transportation funding in both parties.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big disappointments we had was back in August, there were 5 issues that were identified as what were going to be tackled during the fall. You had the privatization of liquor stores, right, you had school vouchers, redistricting, and transportation was one of those, the Marcellus Shale.
Right.
And transportation, interestingly enough, is the one issue that has bipartisan, bicameral support, and it's the one thing we haven't gone to work on. I mean, they started all. The only thing they accomplished was redistricting, but all these other issues got some attention. And the thing is, for an issue like this to get really rolling, you need the governor to step out and say where he is on this. Transportation funding has always been initiated by the executive, and that's what we're waiting for. Now, nice thing about it is we have public statements by Senator Jake Corman of State College, and then just last week we had the leadership of the House Democratic Caucus step up and say, look, we're willing to work with you in a bipartisan manner. We are not going to politicize this issue. It is that important, and we have to get it done. Even in an election year, when obviously the House is up for grabs and they are all wrangling on those things. So we think that that's very positive. I mean, we've seen public surveys that have said that more than 50-some% of people in Pennsylvania view this as the issue that needs to get solved more than the other ones. So I would say, I think we've got a tremendous potential for support in the House and in the Senate. We just need Governor Corbett to tell us where he stands on this.
Well, are we basically down to 2 or 3 ideas about how to fund it? One is to raise the oil franchise tax. We talked about that. The other is motor vehicle registration and license fee increases. Is there any other conceivable way that you think can be employed to get the transportation funding moving?
Well, I think that the user fee system is really what you're looking at here. Now, if you go back and look at the recommendations of the commission that I was happy to serve on, we had a number of ideas that we put forth. And one of the things I don't want to forget is that there is a plan in there that would fund not just highways, but would fund public transit in our urban centers and in our rural public transit. It's very important as well. And in addition to that, we have established an intermodal fund. We have tremendous needs in our ports, and believe it or not, we have inland ports like in Pittsburgh, and then we have, of course, Erie, and then Philadelphia. These are tremendous economic drivers. They can create a lot of jobs. And so that portion of the thing is very important as well. I would like to touch on just one thing.
About 30 seconds.
We keep hearing from people that, we don't really have a problem. We've got a lot of money there, and we could just get more efficient. Well, if we're 10% inefficient, let's just say let's give them that. That's $250 million. We still have a $2 billion problem. It's not going to be solved without some revenue.
You're exactly right. All right. Thanks for watching this edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.